Good morning, and you're watching CGTN. I'm Li Dongning in Beijing. We begin right here in the Chinese capital, where authorities from the Communist Party of China are briefing the media on major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics under the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy. And this is the fourth press conference held by the Press Center for the 20th CPC National Congress after Sunday's opening session.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the press, good morning. Welcome to the fourth press conference held by the Press Center for the 20th CPC National Congress. Today, we have with us two party delegates to share their views on the topic of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy guides China's major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics to new success. They will also address your questions. They are Ms. Shen Beili, Vice Minister of the International Department of the CPC Central Committee, Mr. Ma Zhaoxu, Member of the CPC Committee of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Vice Minister. Now let me give the floor to Ms. Shen Beili.
Friends from the press, good morning. I'm glad to brief you on the CPC's external work in the new era under the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy. Since the 18th National Congress of the CPC, General Secretary Xi has put forward a series of important expositions concerning the party's external work, which are part and parcel of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy, and provide answers to a series of fundamental and strategic questions on the party's external work. They have elevated our understandings on the laws underlying the party's external work to a new height, pointing out the way forward and injected strong impetus in our work. General Secretary Xi has put the party's external work in the right historical context based on firm grasp of the situation. General Secretary Xi pointed out that the world is undergoing accelerating changes unseen in a century. Changes of the world, of our times, and of history are unfolding like never before. Socialism, with Chinese characteristics, has entered into a new era. Realizing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation has become an irreversible process. China is moving ever closer to the center of the world. These important conclusions have provided a solid basis for us to put China's development in the historical context, grasp the changes in the relationship between China and the world and between the CPC and the world, and to promote the external work of the party in a sound manner. In recent years, the external work of the party has registered steady progress with innovation. We held the CPC in dialogue with World Political Parties High-Level Meeting and the CPC and World Political Parties Summit. General Secretary Xi expounded on the value on the word with political parties in the world and called on political parties to respond to changes unseen in a century. In response to the great attention of the CPC, we would hold thematic briefings upon the conclusion of important meetings. It is the view of many political party leaders that the important meetings of the CPC are milestones bearing on the world and their own development. Grasping the overall picture, General Secretary Xi has clearly defined the external work of the party in the new era. As pointed out by General Secretary Xi, the external work of the party constitutes an important front of our party an important component of our party's overall diplomacy, an important manifestation of the major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics. We have worked all out to render service to General Secretary Xi's state visits and important diplomatic agenda, give greater publicity to Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for new era, and safeguarded the ruling position and institutional security of the party. When it comes to issues of our core interests, we have served overall diplomacy with our special strengths and sent out the voice of justice, together with political parties, think tanks, and social organizations worldwide. Staying true to our political character, we held the CPC and World Marxist Political Parties Forum in an effort to work with Marxist political parties and progressive forces around the world to press ahead with the development of Marxism in line with our national conditions and the needs of the times, thus promoting the socialist cause worldwide, with equal emphasis to both political diplomacy and people-to-people diplomacy. We promote coordination between the states through political party consultation. With a global vision, General Secretary Xi has spelled out the lofty mission of the external work of the CPC. General Secretary Xi noted that the CPC strives for both the well-being of the Chinese people and human progress. The CPC, together with political parties and organizations around the world, need to shoulder the responsibility to steer the course, build consensus, promote development, enhance cooperation, improve governance, and strengthen the capability to seek happiness for the people. In recent years, we have developed political party consultation mechanisms with BRI partner countries to realize common prosperity by tapping into our complementarities. We held the International Civil Society Solidarity Conference on the GDI to make joint efforts for building a global community of shared development. We have provided COVID-19 therapeutics to nearly 400 political parties, as well as medical supplies and technical assistance to political parties in need. The relevant parties very much appreciate our timely assistance and regard us as friends in need. Indeed, we held the commemorative event for the International Day of Peace to pool the wisdom and strength of all sides and safeguard world peace and stability. With great vision and far-sightedness, General Secretary Xi has pointed out the direction for the party's external work in the new era. General Secretary Xi pointed out that political parties of various countries should enhance mutual trust, strengthen communication, and step up coordination to explore a new type of party-to-party relations that seeks to expand common ground while reserving differences and enhances mutual respect and mutual learning. We have been continuously building a global network of political parties, including those in socialist countries, neighboring countries, developing countries, and developed countries alike. Global and regional platforms for political party dialogue have been put in place. So we have enhanced our global network of political parties. This helps us build a partnership based on mutual respect and mutual benefit. The CPC maintains contacts of various kinds with over 600 political parties and organizations worldwide. We have conducted extensive exchanges and dialogue with political parties worldwide to share governance experience and enhance our governance capabilities. Many political parties have expressed the wish to enhance exchanges with the CPC, believing that we have provided them with valuable experience. With scientific thinking, General Secretary Xi has laid out the right methodology for the party's external work in the new era. As General Secretary Xi pointed out, we should take a holistic approach with a capacity for thinking strategically, innovatively, and dialectically so as to improve the coordination, scientific nature, and effectiveness of the party's external work. Since the success of the party's external work relies on efforts made by all party members, localities, and departments, we should strive for an architecture of a great coordination, with the party providing overall leadership and coordinating the efforts of all sides. Since the 18th Party Congress, the Forum on the party's external work has been held on a regular basis through sending CPC delegations overseas, receiving foreign delegations, co-hosting major events, and engaging in multilateral and bilateral interactions in various forms, and promoting inter-party exchanges and practical cooperation. All the localities and departments have contributed to the building of an architecture of a great coordination for the party's external work. On the new journey ahead, the external work of the party will continue to press ahead under the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristic for a new era, and Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy in earnest implementation of the important acquisitions of General Secretary Xi. So much for my briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Now let me give the floor to Mr. Ma Zhaoxu. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, good morning. It's a great pleasure to join you at this press conference held by the Press Center for the 20th CPC National Congress. The report to the 20th CPC National Congress systematically reviews the historic achievements and transformation in the cause of the party and the country over the past 10 years of the new era. It draws up a well-conceived, overarching blueprint for building a modern socialist country in all respects and advancing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts. It holds high the banner of promoting world peace and development and building a community with a shared future for mankind. It is inspiring and invigorating. The report makes important points on China's diplomatic work. It states that the CPC is a party dedicated to pursuing happiness for the Chinese people and rejuvenation for the Chinese nation, a party dedicated to human progress and world harmony. China has always been committed to its foreign policy goals of upholding world peace and promoting common development. And it is dedicated to promoting a community with a shared future for mankind. The Chinese people are ready to work hand in hand with people across the world to create an even brighter future for humanity. The past 10 years of this new era has seen China's diplomacy triumph over difficulties and make important headway against the complex and the challenging international environment, making achievements that drew worldwide attention. This is fundamentally attributable to the strong leadership of General Secretary Xi Jinping and the clear guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, particularly Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, China has been moving closer to the center of the world stage in an unprecedented way, and the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation has entered an irreversible historical process. At the same time, the world is undergoing accelerating changes unseen in a century and entering a new period of instability and transformation. General Secretary Xi Jinping is a Marxist statesman and strategic thinker with outstanding political wisdom, excellent theoretical foresight, and a profound global vision. He has a firm grasp of the prevailing trends in domestic and international development, explores deep into humanity's future, and preserves and carries forward the core principles and fine traditions followed by the new China in its diplomacy. Based on this, he has actively broken new ground in major diplomatic theories and practices, putting forward a series of important new thoughts, propositions, and initiatives that have distinct Chinese features, reflect the ethos of the times, and lead the trend of human development and progress. This has led to the formation of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy. Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy is an important part of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era and the latest theoretical outcome of Marxism of contemporary China in foreign-related work. It embodies the best of the Chinese culture and ethos in our times. It is a fundamental philosophy and guide to action for China's diplomacy in the new era. It is scientific, up-to-date, advanced, and action-oriented. It gives insightful answers to a series of key questions in theory and practice, namely what kind of world and what type of international relations China should promote, what kind of foreign policy best serves China, and how China is to conduct diplomacy in the new era. It points the direction for China's external work in the new era and contributes the China wisdom and China's solution to solving the world's major issues and leading changes to the international order and system. Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy has guided China's diplomacy to new success in the past 10 years. In these 10 years, China has taken historic strides in its relations with the world and made historic contribution to the international community. Under the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy, we have pursued major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics on all fronts, promoted the development of a community with a shared future for mankind, and stood firm in protecting international fairness and justice. We have advocated and practiced true multilateralism. We have taken a clear-cut stance against hegemonism and power politics in all their forms, and we have never wavered in our opposition to unilateralism, protectionism, and bullying of any kind. We have fostered a new type of international relations, actively participated in the reform and development of the global governance system, and engaged in all-round international cooperation in the fight against COVID-19. All this has seen us win widespread international recognition. China's international influence, appeal, and power to shape have risen markedly. On the new journey, members of China's diplomatic service will rally even more closely around the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, thoroughly study and implement the spirit of the 20th CPC National Congress, and follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, particularly Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy. We will stay confident and build strength, uphold fundamental principles and break new ground, and forge ahead with enterprise and fortitude to open up new horizons in conducting major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics and make new contribution to building a modern socialist country in all respects and advancing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ma. Now the floor is open for questions. Please identify your media organization before asking your questions.
东区第4排右旗位女士。
Nasreen Osman from Syrian Arab News Agency. My question is, what has China's diplomacy accomplished over the past decade? How is China's version of major country diplomacy different from the big countries in the West, and what makes it unique? Thank you.
请翻译一下。
10年来，中国外交取得了哪些重要进展？中国这样一个大国开展大国外交，同西方大国相比有什么不同？形成了什么样的独特风范？我是叙利亚阿拉伯通讯社的记者。
新时代10年，
Let me take this question. In the 10 years of the new era, the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, has guided China's major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics to new success. Our achievements have been all-dimensional, unprecedented, and historic. We have taken pioneering steps and surmounted various difficulties. First, the centralized, unified leadership of the CPC over foreign-related work has been enhanced in an all-round way. The CPC Central Committee has strengthened top-level strategic design for foreign-related work. A synergized framework in which the party exercises overall leadership and coordinates all aspects of foreign affairs has been steadily consolidated, and institutions for foreign-related work have become stronger. Second, our diplomatic agenda covers more aspects, layers, and dimensions. In the past 10 years of the new era, China has established diplomatic relations with 181 countries, up from 172, and partnerships with 113 countries and regional organizations, up from 41. China and Russia now enjoy a comprehensive strategic partnership of coordination for a new era. We have pointed the right way for China-US relations, guided by the three principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. We have advocated the development of China-EU partnerships for peace, growth, reform, and civilization. In particular, China now has stronger strategic support from its neighboring countries and enjoys increased unity and cooperation with other developing countries. Third, we have robustly upheld China's sovereignty, security, and development interests. We have faced the external containment, suppression, and wanton interference head-on and responded with strength. We have won over 9 countries that the Taiwan authorities claim to have so-called diplomatic relations with, further consolidating the international consensus on the One China principle. We have successfully countered foreign interference in Hong Kong's affairs. We have defeated a series of attempts by anti-China forces to attack and malign China. By doing so, we have safeguarded our country's interests and our nation's dignity. Fourth, China's international influence, appeal, and power to shape have risen markedly. In unprecedented scope, depth, and intensity, we have taken part in global governance and become a pillar for upholding multilateralism. China has hosted a number of spectacular diplomatic events and championed solutions that drew intense global interest. China is increasingly seen by the world as the responsible major country it is. Fifth, we have produced a more visible impact in serving the economic and social development of the country. We have signed 19 FTAs with 26 countries and regions and promoted the entering into force of RCEP. The Belt and Road Initiative now has 149 countries and 32 international organizations as participants, with solid progress made in a large number of flagship projects, such as the China-Laos Railway and Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway. We have done a good job in preventing the spread of the virus from abroad, held over 20 promotion events presenting Chinese localities to the world, and worked as an unfailing defender of the interests of overseas Chinese nationals. Xi Jinping thought on diplomacy has guided us in opening the new path of major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics. For Chinese diplomacy, the party's leadership is the foundation and soul. Putting the people first is a source of strength. Staying independent is a fine tradition. Maintaining a global vision is the original aspiration. Promoting fairness and justice is an unchanging goal, and standing up for ourselves is a distinctive character. Thank you.
请继续提问。西区第一排右起第3位记者。
中国日报记者提问：习近平总书记指出，党的对外工作是党的一条重要战线。
Xi said that the party's external work is one of the party's important fronts, important component of China's overall diplomacy, and important manifestation.
Thank you for your question. The triple X identity pointed out by General Secretary Xi Jinping is an organic whole. It is the fundamental guidance for action for us to achieve success in the party's external work in the new era. One of the party's important fronts has defined the political nature of the party's external work. The party's external work originated from the party, and it has thrived and grown stronger along with the party. It is the party's external exchanges carried out under the centralized and unified leadership of the Central Committee and directly reflects the will of the party in diplomacy. The priorities of the party's external work are always safeguarding the political security of the party and institutional security of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and fully serving the central undertakings of the party. An important component of China's overall diplomacy has defined the strategic functionality. The party's external work boasts state-to-state relations with party-to-party ties, promotes interstate coordination and cooperation with inter-party consultation and cooperation, and resolutely safeguards China's sovereignty, security, and development interests, thus making its unique contribution to the overall diplomacy. An important manifestation of the major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics has defined this distinctive strength. We in the party's external work are committed to practicing the party's original aspiration and missions, sharing governance experience with other political parties, and promoting the progress of human civilization. Based on the synergy in the party's external work, we have been advancing political party diplomacy, public diplomacy, and people-to-people diplomacy in a bid to pull strength for the building of a human community with a shared future. Standing at a new historical starting point, we will continue to study and implement important expositions by General Secretary Xi Jinping on the party's external work, carry out our work by focusing closely on the party's central undertakings, fully serving the building of a modern socialist country in all respects and the national rejuvenation, and provide more and greater Chinese wisdom, Chinese solutions, and Chinese strength to the addressing of common issues faced by humanity. Thank you.
下一个问题，请中区第2排右起第3位女记者提问。
谢谢主持人。中央广播电视总台央视记者
With CCTV,
我们看到近期众多
recently many international political party leaders, political organizations, and personages have sent congratulatory messages on the successful convening of the 20th CPC National Congress. What are their comments, and how will the party communicate the outcomes of this Congress to foreign political parties? Thank you.
The 20th CPC National Congress is not only a major political event for our party and our country, but also a meeting of great interest to the international community. Political party leaders and personages from all walks of life have sent us congratulatory messages in which they have extended their congratulations to the convening of the Congress, best wishes to the Chinese people forging ahead on the new journey under the CPC's leadership, and expectations for the CPC to make greater contributions to human progress. In their messages, they have shown admiration for the charisma of General Secretary Xi Jinping as a leader of a major party and country, They believe that General Secretary Xi Jinping, with great insight and sense of responsibility, has made remarkable contributions to China's development. Under his leadership, China is creating the future in a way that benefits all humanity. The contributions made by General Secretary Xi Jinping to the theories and practice of socialism with Chinese characteristics for new era are widely recognized, and his thoughts and visions are changing the world. They have recognized the Chinese wisdom reflected in the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for new era. They believe that this thought has integrated the basic tenets of Marxism with the features of our times and China's reality, injected new vitality into the development of socialism, boosted the confidence and hope of developing countries in building a greater future. They have spoken highly of the remarkable achievements made by China in this new era. They believe that thanks to the leadership and guidance of General Secretary Xi Jinping and the solidarity and efforts of all CPC members, China has made strides in economy, science and technology, national defense, people's well-being and other sectors. China has embarked on the path towards national rejuvenation and is marching toward the building of a modern socialist country in all respects. They have also expected the CPC to make greater contributions to the world as it stands on a new historical starting point. They believe that the 20th National Congress, as another milestone in the splendid history of the CPC, will provide an even stronger guarantee for China's future development and prosperity and the people's better life. The CPC and China will continue to make greater contributions to the peace, progress and prosperity of the world. Upon the conclusion of the Congress, we will extensively communicate the outcomes of the meeting by holding high-level multilateral dialogues, sending delegations and hosting thematic briefings for diplomatic envoys and international business executives based in China. Please stay tuned in to these events. Thank you.
下一个问题，西区第5排右起第2位记者。
Indonesian Antara News Agency ask questions. During the past 10 years, presidency have traveled around the world, visited many countries. This year, Indonesian G20 presidency carries the spirit of recover together with them, recover together, recover stronger. Could you share any information of Chinese leaders Xi Jinping will attend a G20 summit to be held in Bali next month? 谢谢大家。
过去10年，习近平主席访问了许多国家。今年，印尼是20国集团主席国。20国集团巴厘岛峰会的主题是“共同复苏，强劲复苏”。您能否确认习近平主席将出席下月的巴厘岛峰会？
党的18大以来，
Since the 18th CPC National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping has personally advanced splendid, fruitful head of state diplomacy, setting the direction for major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics and charting the course for a turbulent world. With the global vision and sense of responsibility of the leader of a major country and major party, General Secretary Xi Jinping has, with a keen understanding of the trend of human development and progress, proposed a whole set of new thinking, new propositions, and new initiatives. that have drawn a blueprint for China to develop partnerships with other countries and providing strategic guidance for advancing China's diplomatic agenda. For China's diplomacy, General Secretary Xi Jinping has not only set the course with strategic foresight, but also led by example and got personally involved. Over the past decade, he has made 42 overseas trips, visiting 69 countries on 5 continents, and received over 100 heads of state and government, covering all major regions, countries, and international organizations, and forging a more comprehensive and more solid network of global partnerships for China, and winning respect, cooperation, and friendship from all over the world. During the Beijing Winter Olympics, General Secretary Xi held more than 20 bilateral and multilateral events with foreign leaders, who said that exchange with General Secretary Xi was the most rewarding part of their trip. Not long ago, General Secretary Xi visited Central Asia and attended 31 events in 48 hours, bringing China's relations with relevant countries to a brand new height. After the onset of COVID-19, General Secretary Xi carried out active cloud diplomacy, having 181 phone conversations with foreign leaders and heads of international organizations, and attending 78 major diplomatic events via video link, building strong synergy for international cooperation against COVID-19. General Secretary Xi also shared China's stories, made friends all over the world, and demonstrated the broad-mindedness, sense of responsibility, and charisma of a great leader with the noble character of openness, inclusiveness, confidence, valuing friendship, and helping others to succeed while achieving one's own success. This has helped to raise China's international standing, influence, and appeal, and played a decisive role in advancing and guiding major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics in the new era. We in the diplomatic service will draw inspiration from the successful convening of the 20th CPC National Congress and follow in the General Secretary's footsteps to bring about new highlights in head of state diplomacy and write a new chapter of China's diplomacy. The 17th G20 summit will be held from the 15th to the 16th of November this year in Bali, Indonesia. The G20 is a premier forum for international economic cooperation. As an important member of the G20, China has consistently taken an active part in international economic cooperation and global economic governance, and worked with other parties for the strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth of the world economy. We give active support to the G20 presidency of Indonesia and support the Bali Summit's theme of Recover Stronger, Recover Together. China hopes the summit will play a constructive role in enhancing international cooperation against COVID-19, promoting world economic recovery, and safeguarding global food and energy security. As for Chinese leaders' participation in the summit, we will release relevant information in due course. Thank you.
请东区第5排左侧那位女记者提问。
好的，谢谢，我是凤凰卫视的记者。我们主要想请问的是中国的全球目标是什么？因为最近呢也有声音担心啊，
worry that the differences between China and Western countries will further widen, which will divide the world into different camps and jeopardize the international order. How do you respond to these comments? You asked about China's goal in its foreign policy. The purpose and goal of China's foreign policy is crystal clear. That is, to safeguard world peace, advance common development, and promote the building of a community with a shared future for mankind. Today, our world, our times, and history are changing in ways like never before. The historical trends of peace, development, cooperation, and mutual benefit are unstoppable. At the same time, humanity is also facing unprecedented challenges. There are indeed some forces in the world that attempt to go against the trend of history, cling to Cold War mentality and zero-sum game, and are bent on putting together small circles, waging a new Cold War, drawing ideological lines, stoking bloc-based confrontation, and willfully pursue power politics, bullying, and hegemonism. That represents the biggest threat to the world order. A divided world does not serve the interests of anyone, and bloc-based confrontation will only push the world to a dead end. Building a community with a shared future is the way forward for all the world's peoples. China is committed to building a world of lasting peace through dialogue and consultation, a world of universal security through collaboration and shared benefits, a world of common prosperity through mutually beneficial cooperation, an open and inclusive world through exchanges and mutual learning, and a clean and beautiful world through green and low-carbon development. We call on all countries to hold dear humanity's common values of peace, development, fairness, justice, democracy, and freedom, to respect the diversity of civilizations, and work together to meet global challenges together. China has taken concrete actions to advance the building of a community with a shared future for mankind. Under the personal guidance and commitment of General Secretary Xi Jinping, this endeavor has expanded from countries to regions and from bilateral to multilateral arenas, making substantive progress in all areas and on all fronts. The Belt and Road Initiative proposed by General Secretary Xi has become a much welcomed international public good and international cooperation platform, and the Global Development Initiative and Global Security Initiative put forth by General Secretary Xi have provided new driving force for safeguarding world peace and promoting common development. China is a firm defender of the UN-centered international system, the international order underpinned by international law and basic norms governing international relations based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, and we are committed to making international governance more just and equitable. The COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine crisis further demonstrate the significance of building a community with a shared future. We will stand firm on the right side of history, on the progress of human civilization, hold high the banner of peace, development, cooperation, and mutual benefit, pursue our own development while firmly safeguarding world peace and development, and better promote world peace and development through our own development. Thank you.
西区第4排左侧那位是女记者。
With CGTN, our party is committed to the four principles of inter-party relations, namely independence, complete equality, mutual respect, and non-interference into each other's internal affairs. It also aspires to explore the building of a new type of party-to-party relations that seeks to expand common ground while reserving differences. How does the party handle the relationship between non-interference into each other's internal affairs and mutual respect?
Non-interference into each other's internal affairs and mutual learning form a whole of dialectical unity. They have shown the consistent stance of our party of respecting the diversity of human political civilization and promoting the progress of such civilization. Non-interference into each other's internal affairs is the common consensus of political parties in all countries and a basic norm governing international relations. It is also the precondition for political parties to maintain their independence. Political parties, regardless of the history, membership, strength, and whether they are in office or not, should treat each other as equals and respect each other. Non-interference is also the guarantee for the diversity of political civilization. Diversity is the basic feature of the world. To promote a human community with a shared future is not about replacing a system with another or replacing a civilization with another. It is up to political parties and the people in countries around the world to choose their own political system and development path. As pointed out by General Secretary Xi Jinping in his report to the 20th National Congress, we firmly oppose any form of hegemonism and power politics. We stand against the Cold War mentality, the interference into others' internal affairs, and a double standard. Our party will not lecture other political parties on their internal affairs, nor will we export the Chinese model and demand other political parties and countries to copy our practice. In the same vein, we will never accept the condescending preaching by others or simply copy the political system of other countries. Mutual learning is an important driver behind the development of human political civilization. Stones from other hills may serve to polish our jade. To promote the progress of human civilizations, political parties from all countries must seek common ground while reserving differences and learn from each other. Our party is always committed to exchanges and dialogues with other political parties and drawing on the civilizational achievements of all of humankind. Since we entered the new era, we have been sharing governance experience with other political parties through various means and deepening development cooperation on ideas, policy planning, and governance practice. By hosting events such as the dialogue of exchanges and mutual learning among civilizations, we have promoted the joint progress of different civilizations. Going forward, our party will continue to deepen experience sharing on governance with other political parties, jointly enhance our capacity building and governance capability, better serve the people, and contribute the share of political parties to the progress of human civilization. Thank you.
请中区第三排右起第二位记者提问。
Thank you. With Global Times. Since the 18th Party Congress, the word fighting has become a key word frequently mentioned in China's diplomacy. How is the fighting spirit reflected in China's diplomacy as it safeguards national sovereignty, security, and development interests? Let me take this question. The report to the 20th CPC National Congress stressed that our country has entered a period of development in which strategic opportunities, risks, and challenges are concurrent, and uncertainties and unforeseen factors are rising. We must therefore be ready to withstand high winds, choppy waters, and even dangerous storms. We must carry forward the fighting spirit, foster a firmer sense of purpose, fortitude and self-belief in the whole party and the Chinese people so that we cannot be swayed by fallacies, deterred by intimidation, or cowed by pressure. We must meet obstacles and difficulties head-on, ensure both development and security, and dig deep to surmount the difficulties and challenges on the road ahead, and harness the indomitable fighting spirit to open up new horizons for our cause. Safeguarding national sovereignty, security, and development interests is the fundamental goal of China's external work and the sacred mission of China's diplomacy. Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we have maintained strategic composure, carried forward the fighting spirit, firmly safeguarded our national dignity and core interests, and firmly kept the initiative of national development and security within our own hands. We have been firm in defending the leadership of the CPC and the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. We fought forcefully against the egregious acts, including Pelosi's provocative visit to Taiwan, resolutely opposed all acts of Taiwan independence, and deterred interference from external forces, which further consolidated the One China consensus of the international community. We stayed firm in implementing the policy of one country, two systems, promote the enactment of the national security law in Hong Kong, and rolled out targeted countermeasures against the unwarranted sanctions. We debunked lies with facts and truth and thwarted some forces' political agenda of containing China with Xinjiang. We steadily advanced consultations on a code of conduct in the South China Sea and upheld overall stability in the South China Sea. We are committed to the Chinese path of human rights development. We will never accept condescending lecturing, and we reject the politicization of human rights. At the United Nations, nearly 100 countries made statements in support of China's just position, rejecting interference in China's internal affairs under the pretext of human rights. More than 80 countries stated their position of opposing the politicization of coronavirus origins tracing. We stand against all forms of unilateral sanctions and maximum pressure and will never accept zero-sum game or law of the jungle. Having the courage and ability to carry on our fight is a fine tradition and distinctive character of China's diplomacy. China is firmly committed to an independent foreign policy of peace. We are not intimidated by hegemonic practices, always stand up for justice and against all forms of hegemonism and power politics. We have unwavering determination and rock-firm will to defend national sovereignty and territorial integrity and safeguard the fundamental interests of the Chinese nation. On the new journey ahead, we in the diplomatic service will carry on our fighting spirit, enhance our ability, and always stand at the front line of safeguarding national interests and dignity.
好，下一个问题。东区倒数第二排右侧那位女士。
谢谢，我是来自澳亚卫视的记者。
Thank you. With MAS TV. In the new era, the international community has shown greater interest in our party's external work. Recently, a China expert from South Africa described the relationship between the CPC and other political parties as one of the strongest pillars for China to strengthen its bilateral relationship and friendship with other regions. How does the party's external work leverage its unique...
Since the 18th Party Congress, with the personal guidance and engagement of General Secretary Xi, we in the external work of the party have leveraged our unique strengths and created new horizons in major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics. We have fully leveraged our strengths of political guidance. Political parties play a very important role in a country's political life. They are an important force in promoting human progress. Committed to providing political guidance and building consensus, we in the external work of the party have established multiple platforms for political party dialogue, through which we discuss with political parties worldwide how to shoulder our responsibility to seek happiness of the people, build a human community with a shared future, and build a better world together. We have fully leveraged our strengths of the communication of ideas. In the final analysis, the success of the CPC and socialism with Chinese characteristics lies in the fact that Marxism works, especially when it is applied to the Chinese context and the needs of our times. Xi Jinping's Ordong socialism is the application of Marxism to the Chinese context and to the needs of our times. It has attracted more and more foreign political parties. In recent years, we have responded to the expectations of foreign political parties and systematically communicated Xi Jinping's Ordong socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, especially briefing them on our practices in economic development, party building, poverty reduction, and social governance, which has been met with strong resonance of foreign political parties. Many friends of foreign political parties told us that Xi Jinping's Ordong socialism is not only a fundamental guarantee for China's development and progress, but also points out the way forward for the international community to deal with common challenges. We have fully leveraged our strengths of working on the people. Our external exchanges have the following features. First, extensive. We have made as many friends as possible, and we have reached out to foreign political parties, organizations, and social organizations. We have maintained contact not only with political party leaders, but also the civil society. In this process, we presented to them the stories of the CPC in seeking happiness to the Chinese people and rejuvenation to the Chinese nation and progress for mankind, thus showcasing the image of China as a trustworthy, lovable, and respectable country. Third, good faith. The second feature is good faith. We have made friends with sincerity, honesty, and warmth. While making new friends, we never forget old friends. We give equal treatment to ruling parties, participant parties, and political parties in waiting. It is the impression of many foreign political parties that their engagement with the CPC not only has depths, but also great warmth. The third feature is flexible. We have transcended ideological differences. We stand opposed to any form of a new Cold War or ideological confrontation. We have maintained contacts and relations with all foreign political parties that want to have exchanges with us. Our topics of exchanges cover a wide range of areas and are not limited in forms. These exchanges have been very effective and promote mutual understanding and friendship between different people in different countries. Thank you.
请中区第四排左侧那位女记者提问。
Thank you. With China.org.cn, the success of the party's external work is not possible without the active participation of the whole party and localities and departments. In advancing the party's external work, how does the IDCPC work with localities and departments in serving socialist modernization?
We in the external work of the party have acted upon the instruction of General Secretary Xi to build an architecture of great coordination for the party's external work, to form synergy and serve the central tasks of the party and the country. First, we have sought development through experience sharing. Different localities and departments have participated in the party's external work in different ways, showcasing the CPC stories and our achievements in socialist modernization. thus gaining more understanding and support for socialism with Chinese characteristics. Together with CPC committees at the provincial level, we have held a series of thematic briefings. We have also live broadcasted standing committee meetings at the county level. We invited foreign friends to pay field visits. It is the impression of many political parties that these thematic briefings have provided a golden key for them to understand the CPC and China. On the other hand, through the inter-party exchanges, the leading officials at different localities and departments have known more about foreign political parties, their governance experiences, and all this has helped them to observe and study the world, to draw from foreign experiences and serve their decision-making. Second, we have promoted development through in-depth exchanges. Since the 18th Party Congress, leading party officials at the provincial level have made nearly 100 foreign visits. Tapping into the different features of development of different localities, they have participated in multilateral and bilateral party events and promoted practical cooperation in trade, investment, science and technology, etc., thus facilitating high-quality opening up, high-quality development, and building a new development paradigm. Third, we have facilitated development through building platforms. We have worked in close cooperation with different localities and departments in institutionalizing inter-party exchanges. For example, we have institutionalized exchanges with ASEAN SCO and BRICS mechanism by organizing supporting events in trade and other areas. All this has contributed to the building of a new development paradigm. We have also used the party channel to build platforms for the business community to serve our opening up and international cooperation. Similar events have become brand names in our exchanges with countries in Asia, Europe, Africa, Latin America, and Oceania. Over 20 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities have been involved in promoting practical cooperation. We held the BRI International Port City Seminar, the Belt and Road Forum for Interconnected Land Sea Development, all in an effort to build high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. On the new journey ahead, we will continue to implement the major outcomes of the 20th National Congress, explore new channels for party exchanges under the umbrella of Political Parties Plus, and build an all-dimensional pattern of external exchanges in order to better serve the socialist modernization drive. Thank you.
请东区前排这位女记者提问。
Thank you. With Beijing Youth Daily, there are a lot of positive reviews on the recent movie Homecoming, which is adapted from a real-life operation of evacuating Chinese citizens from abroad. And viewers say that diplomats taking care of these Chinese nationals are probably the closest to war zones besides soldiers. Minister Ma, as a veteran diplomat, can you talk about how you and your colleagues act on the principle of serving the people through diplomacy? Thank you.
It is pointed out in the report to the 20th CPC National Congress that all of us in the party must stay true to our fundamental purpose of serving the people wholeheartedly, ensure that we are acting for the people and relying on the people in everything we do, and breathe the same air as the people, share the same future, and stay truly connected to them. The movie Homecoming touches its viewers because it tells a good story about our value of putting the people first. In the movie, a line is repeated quite a few times. the motherland will not give up on any of her citizens. We will take you home. This is a most eloquent explanation of serving the people through diplomacy. China conducts diplomacy for its people. We in the Chinese diplomatic service always put the people front and center, follow the principle of people-centered diplomacy, make every effort to meet the people's expectations, and firmly safeguard the lawful rights and interests of overseas Chinese nationals and legal persons. Our overseas compatriots' safety and well-being is our consistent focus of attention. When the pandemic struck, we put people and their lives first, giving out Spring Festival packages and health packages to Chinese nationals in over 170 countries. Under the Spring Sprout program, we have assisted more than 4.6 million Chinese nationals in getting vaccinated. In the past 10 years, we organized close to 20 emergency evacuation operations for overseas Chinese nationals and processed more than 500,000 consular protection and assistance cases that benefited millions of Chinese nationals. After the outbreak of the Ukraine crisis, the diplomatic service, acting on the decisions and instructions of the Party Central Committee, swiftly evacuated more than 5,200 compatriots from Ukraine safe and sound. Given the current security situation in Ukraine, the Chinese embassy in Ukraine is organizing the evacuation of our compatriots there. I wish to take this opportunity to once again remind Chinese nationals in the country to step up security precautions and preparedness and evacuate and get in touch with the Chinese embassy in the country in order to evacuate as soon as possible. In the past 10 years, we have handled more than 2.7 million calls for help on the 12308 hotline of the Ministry's Global Emergency Call Center for Consular Protection and Services. In a bid to transform and upgrade our consular services, we have slashed the fees for Chinese nationals applying for consular documents. We're developing a platform for smart consular services. We have innovated with our services to allow the processing of passport applications in the cloud, remote notarization, online scheduling of appointments, and mobile payment. We are letting data do the legwork so that the people do not have to make the physical trips. We are improving the functions of China Consular Affairs so that our compatriots overseas can better interact with our diplomatic missions by tapping on their screens. China has so far reached agreements and arrangements on various kinds of mutual visa exemption with 150 countries. The Chinese passport is becoming ever more valuable. While maintaining robust control over the spread of the COVID-19 virus, we have opened fast lanes for cross-border travels of personnel and issued the Chinese version of health certificate for international travelers, which has proven instrumental for traveling amid the ongoing response to COVID-19 and stability in the industrial and supply chains. The homecoming journey of our compatriots abroad is a journey the diplomatic service must travel to deliver our duty. Serving the people through diplomacy will be our abiding mission. We will always put the people above all else, keeping our roots in the people, our mind on the people, and our efforts oriented toward the people. Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we will continue to carry forward the course of Chinese diplomacy in a way worthy of the people's confidence. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Shen and Minister Ma. Thank you, friends from the press. This ends our press conference today. Goodbye.
All right, that was the fourth press conference held by the press center of the 20th National Congress of CPC, and two delegates briefed the media on major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics. They reviewed the China's diplomatic achievements in the past 10 years, and also reaffirmed China's diplomatic stances and China's fundamental goal of safeguarding national sovereignty and security and development interests, and also China's global goal of safeguarding world peace and common developments. And for more on this, we're now joined in the studio by Mr. Rong Ying, Vice President of the China Institute of International Studies. Mr. Rong, well, major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics is the main theme of today's press conference. It's also the main theory of China's diplomacy. What Chinese characteristics are we talking about?
Well, indeed, that as we have been noted that China is a country that pursues socialism, and it is also, I think, has been governed by Chinese Communist Party, and of course China being the country that with a long history, 5,000 years and more, and is emerging or rising as one of the great country, big country, politically, economically, and also in terms of technology and others. And I think in this context, China is now developing a strong sense of mission, and that it would have to shoulder more responsibilities, to play a bigger role, to help address the challenges facing this world, and to shoulder more responsibility to provide solutions and to the challenges we are facing. So putting these together, we have China as a major country, the purpose of diplomacy and the Chinese characteristics. So it's quite a big, ambitious sort of agenda and vision. But I think as we have seen the past 10 years, the past decade, it has demonstrated very clearly and I think convincingly that the vision is possible, is I think making a kind of a sense, providing kind of alternative and answer to the questions, to kind of difficult question when a country like China that is rising, and what China is up to, what China is going to, what kind of sort of contribution is going to make or provide for the world, and more importantly, how it can convince the world that China, the rise of China, is different from the previous sort of cases of history, where a lot of people believe and still believe that a country rises, becomes powerful, it would naturally pursue a kind of a sense of hegemony, or it would pursue its development by imposing or pushing its own agenda. That is exactly, what China is opposed to. That is, I think, what China is meant to argue or make the case why the major country diplomacy China pursue is different. It has its Chinese characteristics distinct from others.
Right, as what we just said, that China always aims at peaceful development, not only of ourselves, but also of the whole world, the common development. Okay. Now, my colleague Xu Qingduo is joining us from outside the Great Hall of the People. So, Qingduo, hello there. What are your main takeaways from the presser?
Hello, Dongning. Well, this conference is mostly about the overall foreign affairs for the Chinese nation, and also the CPC as a party to conduct its relationship with other parties from other countries. So there's a summary of the activities and meetings conducted over the past 10 years, for example, by the CPC, the Chinese Communist Party of China, and also by China as a nation. The summary of the progress and the achievements of the past 10 years, for example, RCEP, a major free trade agreement of ASEAN countries, plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. Very important progress in terms of free trade, and also, of course, Belt and Road Initiative. More than around 140 countries and international organizations have signed up to this very important initiative for investment, for trade, and for development, etc. And also, it's a summary about the principles and the rules China follows in conducting relationship with other countries and regions. For example, rules-based international order. We are familiar with these phrases, but for China, it's really about it's based on the UN Charter. For example, no interference of internal affairs, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, on equality when conducting relationship among nations, and also China is for an international system which is centered on the United Nations, which is not centered on any particular country. For example, China stresses very much about engagement, cooperation, and equality and mutual respect with other countries. So that's very important because you can see China is a force for cooperation, is a force for engagement, is a force for common development, and also for inclusive security for every country, not any specific, just one country, for example.
All right, thank you very much, Xu Chengduo, reporting from the Great Hall of People in Beijing. Now let's get back to Mr. Rong Ying to continue our discussion. We just said the major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics. This concept actually was raised by Xi Jinping in 2014. Now, 8 years have passed, and the situation in the world has been keeping changing, and we've seen a lot have happened. So, do you see any transformations of this main theory of China's diplomacy, or any transformation needed?
Well, I think if you look at the history of the Chinese Communist Party, the CPC, and of course China's diplomacy included, I think China, it is always in a history of innovation, development. So naturally, as the world is changing, as the situation, time is changing, and as the history is changing, so the China's diplomacy, it would have to. And as a matter of fact, is making efforts, adapt to the changes, so that it always go ahead of the so-called the curve. We have seen that the theory, the concept that has been brought out 8 years ago, and now it is becoming more sort of developed. More, we have seen more innovations, and we are going to see more along this line. And if you look at these new ideas, new propositions, new initiatives like BRI, like the human, promoting the human community for shared future, and ONG and global development initiative, global security initiative, and more and more. We're going to have more. But the most important thing, if I can say, is China, when put forward these initiatives, these ideas, propositions, China in the meantime very much focusing on implementing these initiatives and ideas. That's, I think, a very important area, a feature or characteristics of China's diplomacy.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rong Ying, Vice President of the China Institute of International Studies. Thank you very much for your insight. And with that, we come to the end of a special coverage on the 4th press conference held by the Press Center of the 20th National Congress of CPC. I'm Li Dongning in Beijing, and stay with CGTN for Sports Scene coming up with Mike Fox.